Greetings YouTube, and welcome to my next weapons build. So, I have this piece here, which is literally a broken section of bed frame. I got it for nothing, lying by the side of the road. In fact, I got the two long rails as well, so I've got quite a bit of this to work with. But this shape right here was just this is how I found it, and the shape itself has inspired me. So what do I want to do with this? Well, to me, this looks like a Warpick. So I want to open that up to a 1/2 inch, which I don't think should be difficult to do, and put this threaded rod in there and have it come all the way out to bottom out on that. So all the way through here and bottom out there, and that's going to be, I'm probably going to leave it just the length it is, and I'll put a point on it. I think that'll be a good length, and if I decide I don't like the length, I can always cut it down. The thing is that it will not, there's nothing got to be holding this in place other than the fit here, and that's not threaded at all, and I don't actually have it tapped the right side, not that I couldn't really tap that anyway. So what do I want to do is I want to bottom it out. I may very well have to screw that in just to get it in that hole. We'll find that out, and if I do, I'll just put 2 nuts here and just drive it in with a wrench or a ratchet. What I want to do is, once I get it where I want it, bottomed out, and it should not move this way at all because it's going to be inside this collar, is I want to drill a hole here, and I'll probably end up putting it on a drill press like that because that's relatively flat. Drill a hole here right through, and then use a fastener from this bag right there. Now I got these fasteners for free. They came with some mailboxes. I actually have 2 bags of these. Came with some mailboxes I recently purchased, and I thought that these were significantly undersized in my opinion. I used much better quality fasteners when I put my mailboxes together. So I've got this little bag of things here, and I'm going to drill a hole here, use one of these, and the handy nut that comes with it, and that will not only pin this in place and keep it from coming out, but it will pin the whole thing together. So not only will you have these 2 connections here, but you'll have one there. Now on this end, this is not going to be particularly pleasant to grip. So what I want to do is I'm going to cut this side down right to that slot. So this is going to be like that. And then I'm going to cut down to this side as well, but not as far. It's going to be asymmetric. What I want to do is put a piece of aluminum tubing in here, and I will drill 2 holes in there and rivet that in place so it'll be fairly smooth on the back. And that'll make there'll be less angle iron for your grip, and the tube will give it a rounder shape. And then when I'm finished, I'll probably wrap the entire thing if it's undersized. If it's not undersized, I'll just leave like it is, or I might put some tape or something on it. And I'm thinking of putting a point on here, just a very basic like 45-degree angles, to make it kind of a skull crusher. So when I'm finished, this is going to be probably a one-handed weapon because it's going to ended up getting shortened up a little bit. We'll see when I'm finished. But the first thing I'm going to have to do is get myself suited up, some safety gear, and open up this hole first, and see if I can get that to work for me. The only thing I've done so far is this was bent when I got it. One of the corners was bent in, and the whole thing was bent in towards the L bracket. So I wanted to get it a little square so I could see what I was working with for space, and maybe I could get a nut in there to hold it in place, but then I realized I can just drill through here and pin it, and that would be better than trying to get a nut in that space. And I would have to customize a nut to get in that space anyway, because that is thinner than your average nut for a 1/2 inch piece of threaded rod. They're pretty chunky. That's about the size of the nut you're looking at in there. There's a mix in there, but quite a few of those are the right size nuts for this threaded rod. So yeah, so I'm going to open this up first, see how tight it is, and I'm just going to take a 1/2 inch drill bit and very carefully, put it in my vise, and very carefully just go in there and kind of clear out, because I actually don't know what that stuff in there is. It might be metal, might be a plastic liner, I'm not really sure. The only thing I've done to this, other than the little bending thing, was take off the plastic foot. There was a plastic foot that came with this, and I just pulled that off, because I don't need the plastic foot for anything. Okay, so ream this out, see how tight this is, and if it is of the sufficient for my sufficiently tight, then that will be finished. Then I'll probably work on the handle, and then I'll come back here once I get a point on this, and we'll finally do the drilling and the final assembly. So I'm probably also going to have to take off these two. This one may come off when I put the point on. I'm going to see. I may cut it off just to get it out of the way. But I need to get these things out of the way as well. They were the locking channels. When you put multiple pieces of bed frame together, you would snap these in place to get the whole thing to lock together. That's the slots here for other assembly points as well, which are no longer needed because this is no longer a bed frame. Okay, so first off, get this reamed out and then see how well that fits. So the stuff that was in that shaft right here was plastic, so that came out real easy. And I've decided that this needed to be 2 inches shorter than it was, so I've already done that. And I've decided I'm going to actually do the drilling first. I've got a spot right there. I still have to put a divot in there for my drill bit, but that's where I want my mark to be. I'm going to drill straight through this thing. I'm going to drill through the bedding rail first. And once I get that done, I'll put this in there, and then I'll touch that with my drill bit, and then I'll probably have to take it back out again and drill that by hand, because this slits in and out. There's no real tension on it. So I'm afraid if I tried to start drilling it in here, it's just going to turn on me, or it's gonna be messy. So I really need to get this secured. And I'm not 100% sure how I'm going to do that because this is going to sit really deep in my V-block. So clamping that in place will be very difficult. Though once, yeah, this is a pain in the butt. Well, this will not be a pain in the butt. So just got to figure out what size hole I need and drill this first. This stuff I've worked with before. It drills and machines like a dream. Okay, we're going to do another live action section. I can't figure out how to clamp this. So we're not gonna clamp it. We're gonna we're going free range. Let's see what happens. Loosen this and bring that up a smidge. Yeah, we're gonna try that. See if that works. We are all the way through. It is not what I would call perfectly square, however. Let's see how it works. And it does in fact work, and as you can see it is not perfectly square, but it gets a hole through there. So yeah, now I got to figure out how I'm going to drill a hole through my my rod at a slightly funky angle. Yeah, that's going to be thrilling. Alrighty, well, I didn't die doing this, so and it didn't break anything, so that's a good problem. Good piece of news. But the hole is not perfect. Perfect's not nice and centered. I got that perfect. But yeah, it does not come quite square. But this is such an oddly shaped piece of metal. I couldn't figure out how to clamp it. Okay. Yeah. We'll figure out the next step when we come to that hurdle. So I found a solution, and I also realized I was dumb. I could have put that flat on the drill press and drilled my hole if I'd marked it on this side. But I got myself trapped in a thought process that let me set up a nice square. I literally set up a square here to get a nice center line. And my brain said, that's the best way to do this. When the reality is, that would have been the best way to do this. So regardless, I've got the hole because I had to open this one up. But I have found a solution to this. So I haven't put the nut on there because we're not at the final stage yet. So it's bottomed out. There will be a here. There'll be a nut on here. I'll cut that off so it's flush. And then we're just going to put a nut here. Now that will pull this together. And then this pulls this together, and the whole thing should then be secure. I'll just be pulling in two different directions at the same time. I don't think I'm going to use this nut though. I have an older looking one that's going to be that'll match this a little bit better. This is enough shiny silver for my taste. If I can get a nut that's a little more character to it, I'll use that instead. But yeah, this is a solution right here for holding this in place. So now that this is completed, the modifications to this end are done. I need to put a point on this, and then that will complete the dangerous bit. And then I need to work on the handle. So I'm going to set up how I'm going to do the grinding of the point, and I'm going to show you folks how I do that as well. I'm really liking this little fixture here I got here because it's super easy to tighten. That's it. You can put it in either direction. You can have it go in either direction. This is just temporary clamped in place because it puts that in the right location. And it's just so handy. So I don't think I'm going to change this. At first I thought, maybe I'll mount it on here so that it would then let me get a view here, and I would be able to probably turn it over here to get a view over there. But it is just so versatile. With a clamp, I can just move this from place to place, and this is just so handy. This really does the whole thing. You turn this whole thing to get it snug into the camera, and then you snug this up to get that last little bit of slop you might have in there taken care of. This thing is just so nice. I'm so glad I picked it up. I think I paid $2 for it at a yard sale. And again, it was originally for a security camera of some variety because this would be permanently attached to a wall. But yeah, I love this thing. So it's really helping me out quite a bit. So I'm going to go set up my fixture up there, over there, show you how I do a grinding job of putting a point onto a shaft. Okay, so now I've got my angle grinder set up in my vise here. Facing this way, got a flap wheel on here, I don't remember the grit. And I have my threaded rod in my drill bit, and this is a Black & Decker, believe it or not. I don't like Black & Decker tools. I gotta tell you, if I ever buy another power drill, and I think I may, it won't be a Black & Decker. I've just not been a fan of them. But at the time, I did not know that. I think I might have gotten this really cheap as well. So I'm gonna turn it on. We're going to spin this. We're going to put a point on here. I will be freely admit this isn't the smartest thing in the world to do, but it works. got this close to what I want, and I'm going to finish it up by hand because I get a lot more control that way. So I'm going to take it out of the drill bit, and I'll do the same thing. I'll just twist it by hand until I get the exact point I want. But you can see how that will very quickly put a point on a piece of rod, whether it's threaded or it's not. This has a bit of a more slop into it than I like. Normally I'm working on much shorter pieces so they're more stable, but this is a longer piece. This is just the fastest way to make a point on a threaded rod or rod at all. Like I said, it's not the safest thing in the universe, but it does work. So there you go. That's how I do this when I'm doing like all the projects you've seen on my channel where I use a lot of points. This is how I did it. Okay, so I have taken off those two little nubs that I thought I told you I was probably going to get rid of. I could probably knock those out, but what's the point? I've now laid down a line which will link up these two slots that I showed you earlier. So I'm going to come right up here and take this off, and then I'll come in and cut the rest of it off when I'm finished. Actually, I could maybe do the first cut, this one first. So I'm going to show you how I do this. I'm doing it all freehand other than that line. There we go, we've knocked that all off. And remember, there's going to be a tube in here so that there will be, these are not going to, and they're not going to be on your hand when I'm done. I'll have this all wrapped up. But yeah, I got that knocked out, and I decided to go with an angle instead of doing it square, just because. And the beautiful thing about working with metal like this is you can do anything you darn well please. And I got it all deburred, so that's all set. I have not touched this in yet because I don't quite know where I want the tube to be yet and how long I want it. So when I figure that out, then I'll put the points on there that I mentioned to you earlier. Alright, so now I need to get the tubing cut, figure out how thick this needs to be, this side, and then I'll have to do the whole process over again to get that one to be the width I need. And then we'll get to the final stage of drilling those two holes for the tube, and then of course drilling the two holes in the tube in one side. All right, so next step, we could probably have this thing be the width I want it to be. But that's how I do it. This is, like I said, this is almost all freehand. I did draw a line, but other than that, that's it. I've just been doing this for quite a while, and I've got pretty decent at it. And I use the wheel at the end, the cutoff wheel, to do a little bit of deburring, just so the sharp edges are all knocked off. It just occurred to me on my way to look for tubing, I've got this shiny piece of square stock tubing right here. So I'm going to do that instead. We're going to have it like this. I'll cut it. I still have to reduce this width because it's too wide, but that'll look cooler because it'll be shiny chrome. I like that, shiny chrome. And this is an offcut from another project, so I'm not. This cost me $1 when it was full size, so this is just salvage at this point. So that's going to come out cool. Alrighty, so I need to cut this to length. So that's why I already marked it. So I'm going to whack that off. Then I'll figure out which side I want to show because there are a couple of rust spots. So I'll put the rust spots on the inside. Then I need to figure out some widths, and then we're getting there. This is cool. This is a much better idea. The main component is now complete. There's nothing left to do on this. I did clean these holes, these angles up just a little bit, just to make it look a little prettier. Got the skull crusher all set. I've got my 2 holes, and I drilled the holes in this first, then I clamped this thing together so that I could then get those 2 holes marked in here. And I even remembered to put the ugly side against the inside before I did that. So yeah, that'll be good when I'm done. And then now I just need to drill those 2 holes halfway through. We're not going all the way through this thing because I'm going to use pop rivets to hold it together. So yep, one more step, and then it's going to be assembly, just pop riveting, and then the final cleanup on this end of assembling the whole thing so that it isn't going to get loose when once I've got it in operational condition. So yeah, 2 more holes in this, and whoops, sorry about that. 2 more holes in this, and the drilling and machining processes have been completed. Bit of a complication. I was on the last step. Literally, I had the first rivet in, boom, done. And this shaft came off and jammed in my rivet gun. I disassembled the rivet gun. I took the aluminum shaft out, reassembled the rivet gun, and it wouldn't work. I took it apart and reassembled it 3 times. Could not get it to work. So I decided to take Adam Savage's advice, and he has said that if you don't know if you're going to need a tool, buy a cheap one. And if you only use it once or twice a year, you're all set for life. And if you find you use it a lot, buy a better one. So I went out and ordered an Astro 1423 rivet gun, which is a higher quality rivet gun, though it is shorter. This is a 13 inch, the other one was a 17 inch. So we're going to see how that matters about the leverage. I haven't tried it yet. So I need to get this one out because it's a skew. So I'm going to cut this one off, get rid of it, and I'm going to open the hole up in the tubing a little bit so that I can get the rivet in straight. Don't touch the hole here, so that I'll go in there and then put that last pop rivet. And I may actually film that for you, just because I don't know if any of you folks out there have ever seen somebody use a pop rivet gun before. You might not, but that's the last step for this thing because this is already done. I've already done all the assembly on this thing. It's nice and firm. It's not going anywhere. The hole that I put in here for the nut, for the bolt and the nut, is actually not perfectly in the center of this, but it goes all the way through. It is secure. It is definitely not going anywhere. And this nut, but the combination of this nut tightening this way and this bolt and nut going this way, this is very, very secure, and it's got a nice point. It doesn't come to a, I don't want to have a needle point on there, but it has a nice point. It's definitely very dangerous. So get this out, open the hole slightly, put a new rivet in, and then we'll try that. See what happens. So first thing I'm going to do is get rid of that. Alright, let's give this a shot. Now, in case people don't know how this works, this is how it functions. You place this in here, you depress, and as you do that, this is pulled this way, which mushrooms the bottom of the rivet and affixes it in place. That one's already done. I've never used this one. We're about to find out how it works. Beautiful. You drop it in there and you're done. This tool right here is so that you can change this bit here, because it'll actually do 5 different sizes of rivets, though I only ever use the 1/4 inch. I really like the fact that the wrench is attached here. You have to undo this to get it off, so it's not going to fall off. I happen to really like that option. Because my other one, which was cheaper, $20, this was $33, which with free shipping. It only took 4 days, I think, to get to my house. I had it before this weekend came in. I ordered it last week. I lost the one from the other one because it didn't attach. But this has got a really nice action. You bite more on this one. So you saw me do it 4 times. On my other one, the longer handles, it only had to take 2. But I was using more force. I would rather do more pumps with less force than fewer pumps with more force. Very happy with this. So this project is finished. Let's get it off the out of the vise on the table, and we'll take a look at it. And then, of course, I have to go do stills. Kind of interesting. This is the rivet stem from my old rivet gun, and this is the rivet stem from my new rivet gun. So you can see there's a significant difference there. And if you look at the rivets, you can see that the stem is just below the surface, where this one is significantly further inside. The hole goes deeper, but the amount of mushrooming is almost identical. So the amount of force that is being applied on this one and the amount of force being applied on this one is approximately the same. So this is the completed Warpick. I'm not going to wrap it because I like the shiny silver handle, but I don't think you're going to have to worry about it. There's enough texture here between these cutouts and between the rivets that I don't think you're going to have to worry about grip. In fact, I may want to polish off the original one, the old one, because that one's a little rough. This one's nice and smooth. So my new rivet gun is significantly better than my old one. Very happy with that purchase. $33 well spent. So there you have it. This is just wonderfully nasty looking. And all the inspiration was just because I found this thing by the side of the road and thought, you know, this would make a cool Warpick. And you know something? I was right. It makes a cool Warpick. Alrighty, so time for some stills, and then time to take this upstairs and do some editing. So thank you for being here. I hope that you enjoyed yourself, and I hope that you will come back for the next. And I also hope that you will follow me on Instagram and DeviantArt. Both of those places are where I put pictures. DeviantArt is the permanent home of stills from all my builds. And Instagram is full of all kinds of stuff, including cute cat pics. And who doesn't love cute cat pics? Okay, see you next time.